Once you understand the basics of using a metronome, the next question is, how do I use this to improve my guitar playing? Here are 3 ways to use a metronome for beginners. And when I say beginners, I don't mean beginners at guitar. Even if you've been playing for years, but you're new to using a metronome, this video will be invaluable. And you'll find even just a little effort on your part goes a long ways. Grab your metronome. Let's do this. The first way we're going to talk about is what I call feel the beat. Now, this may seem simple, especially if you've been playing for a while, but trust me, it's really worth your time, and it will pay off with the other exercises as well. The first thing I want you to do is to just tap or clap along with the beat. So I've got my metronome going, 60 beats per minute, and I'll clap. Not so good. Let's tighten it up. Try and make that clap sound cover over the tap of the metronome. Now, you might need to make sure your metronome is loud enough so you can hear. I'm getting it. Not perfect yet, but... Or I should say I'll never always get it perfect. I'll always waver off a little bit, but I'm doing pretty good. So here's the second phase. Now, after you feel like you're doing pretty good with clapping on the beat, go ahead and mute out the strings of your guitar and let's do it on the guitar itself. This is optional, but it's really helpful to kind of start integrating the movement of the guitar with the beat as well. Here we go. Okay, I slowed down a little bit just to show you. I called it a flam when the beats don't quite line up. Let's try it again. Okay, not bad. Of course, you want to slow down or even speed up, depending on what works for you. I would recommend somewhere around 60 to start off with. The next part of this exercise is down and up. We'll start with the clap, so it'll sound like this. So we're going to count the beats now. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, what we want to do is put 2 claps on each beat. So we're going to call the second clap and, like this. 1 and, 2 and, 3 and, 4 and. In music, we call those 8 notes. 1 and, 2 and, 3 and, 4 and. Now we're going to take that to the guitar. I'm going to just start off again with a basic 8 note. 1, 2, 3, 4. And here I go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. By the way, most strums, that is actually what's happening. The down on the first part of the beat and the up on the second part of the beat. Again, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now, if you're having a hard time with the first part of this, stay there for a while and work on it, maybe for a few days or as long as you need to. And then start doing the 8th notes, we'll call them. The next one is called the chord switching game. Now, I'm going to divide this into what I'll call 3 rounds, and they kind of progressively get more difficult. You want to stop wherever you're having a hard time and work on that before moving on. First round, I've reduced my tempo down to 50 for this. I'm going to count, just get on the beat. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I've got the beat. I'm going to pick 2 chords. I've already picked 2 chords, the D and the G. And I'm going to start with the D chord. We're going to strum each chord 3 times. And on the 4th beat, change. Sounds like this. 1, 2, ready, play. Strum, 3. And on 4, change. 2, 3, change. 1, 2, 3, change. 1, 2, 3, change. Okay, so you want to get to where that's sounding reasonably good. Don't go for perfect, but you don't want to totally fumble on this and keep moving up. Now, we're going to go to round number 2. I'm going to keep the 4 beats, but I'm going to change on 2 and 4. So it's 1, 2, change, 3, 4, change. Here's what it sounds like. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, change, 3, 4. 1, change, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can see we're upping the ante. We're changing more often and getting more experience moving the fingers. Now for the third round, we're going to up the ante again. We're going to go back to what it would seem like the first round, but we're not going to allow a full space at the end to change. And you see what we're doing? We're kind of forcing your fingers to get to the chords faster and on time. So, and at the same time, you're practicing your rhythm. I'll show you what it sounds like. It's 1, 2, ready, play. So I'll strum 4 times. 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and. So do you see what I did? I strummed 4 full times, and I changed on that second half of that last beat. On the 4, actually I call it the 4 and, the end of 4. I'll do it again, show you. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Now, of course, you'll want to pick a tempo that works for you. Usually, beginners will start slower, somewhere around 40, and then you just build up little by little to whatever works for you. It doesn't matter how fast you're going. What you're working at is changing chords smoothly on time, staying relaxed. Don't forget to breathe. That will help you. Try this exercise with a number of different chord combinations. And then, when you feel like you've kind of worn that out, try adding a third chord and go from the first chord, the second chord, and the third chord. It's a great one to improve your rhythm playing as well as your timing. Now we come to the tempo speed game. You're going to want to keep a journal for this one, or a written record. And it could be very simple, just a piece of paper with the date and the tempo and any notes that you want to include. Or if you prefer, I have a free download that is a little journal template that you can use. Absolutely free, and I'll put a link to that somewhere down below. So to start out, you want to warm up and just kind of get going along with the tempo of the metronome. The first 2 exercises would suffice. Then you're going to play an exercise that's called the finger developer. There's 2 versions. The first one for beginners or close to beginners, and it goes like this. Open, first finger, second, third, next string, open, open, and so on, all the way until you get to the first string. Now, once you do that and you're comfortable, you want to go backwards just as well. The second exercise is if you're a little more advanced. I prefer this one because you're going to go up the neck a little bit and use the pinky. So we'll start on the 5th fret, and it looks like this. Pinky, first finger, that's 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th frets, and so on. All the way until you get to the first string, and then over time you want to be able to go backwards as well. I've done previous videos on both of these exercises, and I'll put some links somewhere down below. Now we're going to get the metronome going. I'm using 50 again, and I'll start 1 note per beat. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you're choosing the second developer, it goes like this. 1. Now, once you're comfortable with that, we're going to do 2 beats per note. I start off by counting 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. In this case, I'm going to use my pick, and the and is always going to be when I come up. So it sounds like this. We'll start with the easy one. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and so on. You got the idea, right? And if I were doing that second speed developer, I'd start 5th fret, sound like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, make sure and first just go up so that you can get the hang of the exercise and feel comfortable. You can always start going backwards at a later time. So here's the second part of this exercise, and actually I consider the most important part. This exercise is a motivational exercise as well as something to help you improve your speed. You're going to write down after a practice session what your final tempo is, or the one you felt comfortable with. You might want to push way beyond where you are sometimes and then come back to something that you feel like you can do. So that's the tempo you're going to write down. You write down the date, the tempo. I usually include some things like what I did well or what I still need to work on. So that helps me to remember the next practice session. And your goal is not to just keep going up and up and up, but to look over time that you've made improvements with your tempo. You want to push and even sometimes play sloppy. This is a trick that really works, actually. It's one of these few tricks that actually works. Go ahead and occasionally push way past your speed. Let's say you're at 50. Go to 60 and slop through it. Even though it doesn't sound good, slop through it. Then come back to 50 and play it nice and clean. Eventually, you always want to get to where you can play clean, clear notes and not slop through them. But it's really okay to push for limited periods of time beyond what you can actually do, even though it's sloppy, and then come back. You'll want to write down the tempo that you can play it, and it sounds pretty good. Again, I'll put a link somewhere down below so you can get a chart, at least to get started. I'm Thomas Michaud. Wherever you're watching this, scroll down and leave me a comment. I'll put links to everything I've talked about down below, and I'll put another video up here that I want you to watch now. I wish you the best guitar learning journey.